Welcome to GHTC 2021. This panel is Advancing IEEE Leadership Through the Initiatives on Sustainable Development and Energy Transformation. Sustainability has a global focus at the United Nations, national and local levels, along with multiple facets that are highly integrated. While affordable and clean energy is a UN SDG itself, it also provides the infrastructure supporting goals for health, education, clean water, and many more elements of international focus. This session and panel will provide an overview of IEEE initiatives and leadership in sustainable development. Your moderator today is Rudy Schubert, who is the Director, New Initiatives for IEEE Standards Association and lead for its energy practice. He leads the IEEE Industry Connections Program, operating consensus, building interest groups across a portfolio of emerging issues and topics, including sustainability, renewable energy, and many others. Rudy, I hand it off to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. And thank you very much for the opportunity to put this panel together. What you're going to hear over the next 45 to 50 minutes are a lot of perspectives on sustainability and energy transformation. We read a lot about it in the news. It's a very hot topic, so to speak. And IEEE has a lot of activities going on that are relevant to the sustainability area, but sometimes they're not as visible as one might think because they're dispersed in many different areas. We have certainly things going on in the Power Energy Society. We have things going on in the Communication Society, as well as some of the other operating units, such as Humanitarian Activities, MGA. So we're going to have speakers representing all these different areas today to try to give you a broader view of a lot of the opportunities that are going on within IEEE that people can get involved with. All right, so a quick introduction to our panelists. The first panelist we're going to hear from is Micah Lucan. Micah is the VP for IEEE MGA, and she'll be giving an overview of a lot of the sustainability initiatives going on at IEEE. Then we're going to go to Sampath Viraraghavan, and Sampath is from the Humanitarian Activities Committee, where he chairs a number of the initiatives there. Then we'll switch a little bit more towards energy transformation, renewable energy topics. Juan Carlos Montero is one of the officers of the Power and Energy Society. We'll be talking about that. And as Scott mentioned, I come from the Standards Association, and standards are sort of a tie across all these different activities. So I'll give a perspective on some of the things going on that are standards related. So we have a lot of material to cover in a little bit of time. So we're going to jump right into it. And I'm going to introduce Micah to be our first speaker. So take it away, Micah.
Thank you very much, Rudy. It's a great pleasure to be here today and address the audience. Rudy already alluded to the fact that IEEE has many units and has sustainability-related activities in many units. So I'm going to try to give a brief overview from across the organization, and then the others will take some of these activities that I don't mention and talk about them in much more depth. So next slide, please. So I'm not telling you anything new, presumably, but we do know that we are facing global challenges, truly a global crisis, and we have to address them because they're really threatening the very sustainability of our society and our world. Among the biggest threats are affordable and clean and sustainable energy supply, of course, fresh water, and the climate crisis. And we do know if we have a good sustainable energy supply, we can solve a lot of these problems. So we do have an urgent need, and we have to ready solutions that address these challenges. And I maintain that we actually need to look at 3 different types of technologies or innovations. They're around engineering, and of course the implementation of the engineering solutions. They're political and they're financial. Next slide, please. So what I'm talking about is looking at and addressing these global challenges through technological innovation, technological transformation. And we can do this in a responsible fashion. And it is squarely in the wheelhouse of IEEE because of its background, and I will allude to that a little bit further. We need to address the issues, some of them expressed very clearly as in the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I'd like to point out the power systems, communications, connectivity, internet, healthcare infrastructure, transportation, etc. Next slide, please. So linking this to IEEE now, IEEE's core mission is to foster technological innovation and excellence for the benefit of humanity. I have looked up today our Articles of Incorporation, and it's clearly stated there many years ago. So we have been, always have been, and still are an organization that is there to foster technological innovation for the benefit of humanity. Next slide, please. So what does this mean? It means that IEEE truly can, through its members, through its intellectual property, advance solutions for sustainable development. So how do we express that in terms of roles? I think what we need to do as an organization, and we are doing as an organization, is to apply our knowledge, to speak up and be heard, because if you know, or an organization knows, it's their responsibility to speak up. Who else would? And we need to build our envisioned future. And in IEEE, we do this through thought leadership, like in the panel today, programs, including education programs. We are talking about some of the programs later on, with our communities of experts. We are forming communities of experts and driving development and innovation forward. Next slide, please. So who is IEEE from a different perspective? 400,000 members, 160 countries. We are leading authority on ICT, in power, and virtually any other technological area that is based on the electron and the photon and enables sustainable development. That is applications in smart cities, transportation, buildings, power and energy generation, and so on. So IEEE really has the knowledge and the capacity to drive sustainable innovation or sustainable development innovation, technical innovation to support sustainable development forward around the globe. Next slide, please. So we are meeting the challenge because our members are using their expertise and the know-how to develop these solutions. And there are, for many of these critical issues on this planet, and different problems in different places, in many variations. And this could be in the form of standards, it could be in the form of white papers, it could be in the form of discussing solutions at the local level with local groups of interest. Next slide, please. Let me give you a few examples of partnerships, for example. So we work together with the Digital Cooperation and Diplomacy Network to engage on a framework towards human-centric, sustainable information and communications technology. And I'm going to go a little bit fast through the next few slides in order not to curtail my friend's time here. I point out that all of these slides are linking through, so you may be able to afterwards follow these links to these various activities. Next slide, please. IEEE is engaged with the XPRIZE Foundation on developing a XPRIZE around energy and sustainable energy and its transformation, its conversions, etc. So we are busily in the process of defining this prize, and if you're interested, please be in touch, because we'll be looking for collaboration and partnerships with respect to this prize. Next slide, please. We formed an IEEE sustainability community. Again, the link goes through. And here's a list of topics from energy storage, battery solutions, ICT as an enabler of a sustainable society, and so on. We're looking for people who would like to work with us, whether these are IEEE members or not, to build a large, vibrant community to address these issues. So please come to the community and work with us. Next slide, please. An initiative that has been around for quite some time is the IEEE Sustainable ICT Initiative. Again, it used to be called Green ICT. It's been renamed to Sustainable ICT. So please have a look. Next slide, please. There we have a technical committee on green communications and computing. There are various journals that are addressing a particular field with respect to sustainable development or sustainable technology opportunities. Next slide, please. We have a particular society, IEEE Society on Social Implications of Technology, that is focused on the impact of technology on various societies, on society, and to a certain extent, also, of course, also on the environment. So IEEE is not only looking at developing technology, promoting the technology, but also looking at its impact, its potential impact, because we know that technology is neutral. Right? Knowledge is neutral. Technology is neutral. It is the way we use it that either benefits or hurts, or is somewhere in between. In other words, not effective in between. But what I'm trying to say is we are taking our responsibility really forward to looking at the potential harm and the, of course, the goal of doing good or having generating benefits of technology. So this is a very interesting society to look at. I got first involved with them when we were first starting to have drones, for example. Next slide, please. We have a group that's focused on tech ethics and looking again on the ethical and societal implication of technology as this becomes truly an integrated part of technology development. We have a particular initiative on the ethics of AIS, looking at autonomous intelligent systems and their impact, how to guide development in that area. Next slide, please. So as you can see, there's many different activity around IEEE through the various societies and working groups. And that has resulted into many activities and initiatives. So we have put together one particular website that focuses on pulling the activities together into essentially one jump-off point, so we can find and show what IEEE can do in support of sustainable development. And we have many different online fora to invite you to work with us to discuss issues, propose solutions, and they are from sustainable computing to electronic waste, for example. Next slide, please. And with that, I'd like to once more invite you to join us as we foster technological innovation and excellence for the benefit of humanity and a sustainable future for all. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Micah. And if anyone has questions, you can put them in the chat. I think we'll try to cover all those at the end.
Probably was too long.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move to our next speaker. Since this is the Global Humanitarian Activities or Global Humanitarian Technology Conference, who better than the global chair of the Humanitarian Activities Committee to speak to us on some of the sustainability initiatives going on. So I will turn it to Sampath next.
Thank you, Rudy. And thanks to the GHTC organizers for inviting us. Pretty excited to be here. It's my 10th year, I would say, anniversary of being here on GHTC. So quite excited about that. So for the next 10 minutes, my goal is to provide you a 360-degree view about what are the offerings we provide from the Humanitarian Activity Committee. So I'm going to focus on 3 different segments. First, what is HAC? What are the various programs we offer? And then we are going to look into, what kind of member benefits, we provide, and how do we provide value add to the membership. And then we will be specifically looking into what are some of the unique opportunity that we offer to individuals and for partnering organizations. So with that brief note, let's rock and roll to the next slide. Okay, IEEE Humanitarian Activity Committee, right? The mandate for our committee is we want to actually inspire, connect, and empower, IEEE volunteer throughout the globe so that they can apply their technical skills to solve the grandest, humanitarian and sustainable development challenges which are faced by the local community. Next slide, Rudy. As you can see here, we are a global board that reports to the IEEE Board of Directors, and we provide both the global strategy and a portfolio of programs so that we could empower IEEE members at the grassroots level. Carlos, you may want to mute yourself.
I just muted him. So.
I think I was muted by someone. Okay. There are 4 strategic areas that HAC focuses on. The first one is creating awareness. How, as an IEEE member, you can put your skills into action, right? How you can give it back to the society. So we provide that awareness through workshops. We conduct, like in-person workshops, digital workshops, panels, and so forth. Second, we provide training. One of the important aspects is to, inspire and, engage the next generation of engineers. So here we actually provide educational materials, specifically, training our IEEE members on how to design and deliver sustainable development programs on the ground. This is very, very important, especially when you are a student, because it provides the out of the classroom experience where you get to know about, different skill sets, such as not only on the technical front, but also on the program management, risk management, and so forth. Thirdly, we provide project funding. In the last, 4 years, between 2016 to 2020, we have provided up to the tune of $2.66 million to our IEEE members who have delivered about 329 projects through the globe. The most important call out here is that when pandemic hit us, HAC launched a COVID-related program where we attracted, solutions from IEEE members across the world so that they can deliver solutions relevant to the pandemic situation. This year, we received about 384 proposals from 45 countries, out of which 72 has been awarded so far. So this is the highest number of proposals received so far in the history of HAC this year. Lastly, we wanted to actually foster a creation of a global community through partnership both within IEEE and beyond IEEE, so that collectively we could actually, work together to achieve SDGs and address this, pressing challenges in the sustainable development space. Next slide. Here, we want to talk about what kind of, among the many benefits we offer, one of the popular feet on the ground program called as IEEE Site. This is one of the popular program we offer. So in this program, the IEEE members at the grassroots level partner with the local community, and then they collaborate along with other local partners, which could be non-profit organizations or government organizations, to come together collectively to understand the local challenges and devise solutions to benefit the local community. As you can see here, Site is probably one of the fastest programs the last 3 years in the sustainable development space. As I speak today, we have more than 20,600 members present in about 123 countries, out of which 63% are students or graduate students. As I said earlier, it becomes really, really attractive, both to enhance the leadership skill and enhance the technical skills for the students. And mostly, as I said here, we are celebrating right now the 10th year anniversary of Site. And we have about 200 site groups throughout the world in 53 countries. And we are a IEEE Foundation donor supported program, thanks to our donors who believe in our members, who are giving back the skill set and having impact on the local community. Next slide. And as you can see here, this is a global presence. Our members are present in 123 countries across all 10 regions. Next slide. There are 6 core benefits, as I talked about earlier. One is the training and awareness. We provide both content in learning network, in IEEE learning network, as well as 2 workshops. Second, professional development. We spoke about that, how you are able to participate in a real world project, which enhances your leadership skills and technical skills. And most importantly, you are actually contributing to a greater purpose, which perfectly aligns with the larger mission of IEEE. And fourthly, we provide project funding. And then fifthly, you truly get to collaborate with a set of global volunteers, thereby getting transnational networking avenues. And the last one is our goal is to create a global community of technologists, practitioners, and stakeholders in the sustainable development space. Next slide. Okay, let's quickly look into what are the avenues uniquely, how you can participate. Next slide. So you can see here one key example here. In addition to this year, we had such a great partnership with more than 10 to 12 IEEE societies. We also partnered aggressively with United Nations agencies. As you can see here, we partnered with Tech Ethics and participated in their UN DESA panels. HAC also hosted the first ever side event at the STA forum. And most recently, like HAC participated in the ITU's repository of women in technology event and the UNGA 76 event. And on Monday, we are also hosting a panel on the GSIC conference. So all it indicates that our goal is to make IEEE a world leader in the sustainable development space through internal and external partnership. Next slide. And this is the most important last slide I want to touch upon. So as an individual, as you can see here, HAC provides core benefits, both at the individual level and at a partnership level, at an organization level. So at an individual level, you can actually leverage all the benefits to the portfolio of programs we offer. You can get the site membership, which is free. You can also participate in our educational, training workshops and leverage our online resources available in the IEEE Learning Network. And thereby, it helps you to, both in terms of attracting your members, retaining your members to complementary avenues, so that you can put your skill set for, for social good, actually. If you're an organization or an IEEE unit, you can actually partner with us so that you could publicize these opportunities to your member. And also, you can also maximize your impact to join partnership programs with HAC. And lastly, it provides a really, really complementary avenue, not only to attract, but to engage with, existing members. With that said, we are launching our first flagship conference on 10th November called as the IEEE Hack Global Summit, which is going to be attended by world leaders in the sustainable development space. So if you're an IEEE member, become a site member. It's free. The registration is free. So definitely, I look forward to meeting you all there. Next slide. So yeah, that's a call out about our global summit. And next slide. So yeah, if you have further questions, visit our website, hac.ieee.org and site.ieee.org, or you can also write to me, sampathkumar.v@ieee.org. So as I said, our mission here is to empower IEEE members so that we all can come together to build a prosperous, inclusive future for everyone, which is the blueprint of the UN 17 SDG goals. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sampath. And again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try to get to everything at the end of the sessions. So we'll go now to our next speaker, Juan Carlos Montero. Juan Carlos and I have worked together a bit on the Global Power System Transformation Consortium over the past year and a half or so. So I'm going to turn it over to Juan Carlos to give an overview of the consortium and the work we're doing within IEEE. So Juan Carlos, please go ahead.
Thank you. I had some problems with the microphone, but I hope you can hear me now. So yes, it is a pleasure to be here. And I would like to share about some initiatives in the energy field where IEEE is working, and also looking forward for sustainability, and again, work for a better world and collaborate in all the technical fields that we can. In this case, I'm going to talk to you about the Global Power System Transformation Consortium. It's a global initiative that we will see in the next slides. We are lucky as IEEE to be involved in this initiative. This is a high-level initiative. And next slide, please. I will talk to you about it in these few slides. So getting a little bit back, again, I'm Juan Carlos Montero. I'm an IEEE volunteer, and I am also, of course, an IEEE Power and Energy Society volunteer. As Rudy mentioned, I have been working with Standard Association, MGA, and other societies within IEEE on this initiative. And what is this initiative about? The Global Power System Transformation Consortium started from a group of system operators. If you're related with power or the energy field, there are system operator, power system control centers, the people in charge of operate the system. There are a group of them that were concerned about the way to integrate more renewables very quickly in the system. And so they started this initiative, and they started to gather people from very important institutions, organizations, and of course, IEEE, one of the thought leaders and standards leaders worldwide, was engaged. So we can see system operators from ERCOT, IMO, National Grid, California ISO, AirGrid, EnergyNet. So you can see these are high-level power systems that already have a great amount of renewable integrated. But even the big guys like these ones, they were thinking that all the system operators worldwide needed help to integrate faster and better the renewables in our grid. It is not that easy. I am actually also, I work on the system operator in Costa Rica. And as a system operator in another region of the world, I understand these concerns that we need support sometimes to integrate this type of technology that are growing very fast, and we need support in standards, training, and a lot of stuff. So the global power system transformation started from in this way, looking to speed up and scale the support to support the global energy transformation, decarbonization, and of course this is a great initiative, a goal that everyone's looking for. And since we have so high-level system operators, and we have a great amount of institutions like IEEE, EPRI, NREL, Imperial College, ASIC, and others group of institutions that are also well respected, well known. Well, this is a win-win relation where we are, as IEEE, working to support this initiative. Next slide, please. So who can join and why we need to work in this way? As I was saying, the system operators are the ones responsible usually for the safe operation of the grid, to keep the lights on. They are very high-level position in the hierarchy of a power system, right? They're usually quite related with the regulators. And since we have to deal with the day-to-day problems and keep the lights on, it was important to support the operation from the system operators. And in this goal, as I was saying, what about the best things to do? First of all, have peer-to-peer training, having other system operators sharing the experience, having the world leaders like IEEE and standards development getting engaged, having people from well-respected in research areas to work together. Again, this is an open to anyone, individuals, organizations, initiative. So it's quite amazing. I have to admit, this is kind of new, let's say. Actually, this year we have the official launch, but as Rudy mentioned, we have been involved like a year and a half, and things are starting to move very quickly. Next slide, please. So what are the things that have been done? As I say, we have funding system operators. We have direct support from research institutes. We have peer-to-peer exchange and learning. We're looking to, again, check experiences, check what's needed to go ahead, look for new tools, and all the documents and webinars and all the things that have been done by the moment, they are open to anyone. Of course, IEEE have been very involved, and we have volunteers almost in all the pillars that we will see in a few slides. But we are engaged in a huge level, and again, all the documents and things that are being created are open to the public, meaning webinars, documents, etc. Next slide. So this is an important slide, and I think one of the last ones. Is how it's done, right? We have 5 key areas that we call it pillars. That we have the system research and peer learning, that is led by ASIC, system operator, technical assistant, that is led by NREL, foundation workforce development, that is led by the Imperial College from London, localized support and technology adoption support. To localize it, technology adoption support. This is the one that is led by IEEE. We have a core team, again, from people like Micah, Rudy, and other leaders from IEEE, different societies supporting this initiative. And we have open data and tools. As you can see, we're looking to create more knowledge, share practices, prepare the people for the future, look for new standards or new technologies that can be localized, adopted. For example, in our case, IEEE, we developed a survey about the needs from the system operators. What are they looking for? What have been discussed? And for example, from those documents, we have seen that there's a need for distributed energy resources training. And of course, 1547 is a key how do you say, key factor again for success worldwide, and it's important, and people is actually looking to get more know about it. But from the other side, for example, the energy storage is another topic where the standards are in development, and of course, IEEE also have a important role in this development, and again, to get involved in that. So, as you can see, there are 5 pillars. As I mentioned, IEEE is completely leading one of them, but we have volunteers, and you can engage in all the pillars. It's open to anyone. And again, I think it's a great initiative with global impact. It's quite recent, but it's moving very fast. And again, and it has support from very big guys in the energy field, let's say. Next slide. If you go to their website, as I mentioned, again, I like to Google it. I won't give you a link, but you will find it very easy with Global Power System Transformation Consortium. You will find information about who is involved. You can get involved over there. You can check what documents have been done with the webinars, and then it is open access. So meaning that it's free for everyone to download, and you can start reading about these things that are really important to boost the integration of renewables, and of course, will help do the decarbonization of our society. Next slide. So here are my name and my email. If you have any question, any moment, please let know. But again, as we were saying, energy is a key enable to several things for decarbonization. And we're working as IEEE to support those who have the responsibility to keep the lights on using renewables and getting confident and getting the best tools. And of course, since we have such an important role with the Standards Association and the standard development, this is the right place to IEEE to be supporting the transition. Thank you, really.
All right, thank you very much, Juan Carlos. And so Juan Carlos talked a bit about some of the standards activities, so it's a very nice segue to some of the slides that I'll cover in the next 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to touch on IEEE standards initiatives for sustainability and energy. And I think one of the keys is that it's not always just standards, but we do have a number of other pre-standard programs and also related to standards programs. So let me get into that a bit. So first, certainly the core work that is done within the IEEE Standards Association is standardization. We have over 1,500 projects or standards going on. Typically, if it's published, we call it a standard. When it's being in development, it's called a project, hence the different language we use there. They are very globally driven, and they are open and consensus-based processes. Anybody can join to participate. There is a membership aspect when you want to vote on a standard, but you don't even have to be a member to participate in the process. And I think, for those who are, maybe less familiar with the way IEEE does standards versus, say, IEC or ISO or some of the other large organizations around the world, we consider the way IEEE's approach is a bit more grassroots. It's really at the individual and the member level, whereas many of the other standards development organizations tend to work more top down. They're like one country, one vote style. So it's in some ways it's a different approach, but we all have the same goal of using standards to enable technology advancements. So as I said, standardization is obviously our core, but this slide here gives you a bit of perspective on the larger portfolio of the work that we do within the IEEE SA around the standards activities. So if you look at the top left, there's a program called Industry Connections, which is one of the ones that I manage within the SA, and that's typically the incubator for the next generation of standards, or building new communities that are interested in working on standards related activities. So that's grown quite a bit. We have over 50 different programs. It's usually in an area that is one of those hot button topics that you hear about. It could be artificial intelligence, it could be virtual reality, it could be blockchain. So anything that's in the very early stages of standardization, very often comes through industry connections first. On the back end of things, if you look at the circle down at the bottom on conformity assessment work that we do, that's really looking at the end. So if you have a standard, how does somebody really know whether they're meeting the standard? So we have a program that puts different programs in place that allow for those assessments to be made, working with independent laboratories, building test plans that associate with the particular standard. So, we always say we like to do that full life cycle with industry connections being the pre-standards work, conformity assessment being the post-standards work, and then other areas as well. We have registries that has to do with MAC addresses, for example, and we've been expanding into open source because open source is becoming of greater interest in the standards world. So a large portfolio of activities. We always like to emphasize that it's not just writing the standard, but everything else that goes along with it from the front end to the back end. The other thing that a lot of people aren't too aware of, so many people who've been involved with the IEEE for a long time, they may certainly be familiar that we're big on energy standards. Like close to 50% of the standards portfolio comes from the Power and Energy Society or power electronics. So a lot of them are there. And communications, obviously, with Ethernet and Wi-Fi, all these things came through the IEEE. But what people are less aware of is all these other areas that we're working in. I think Micah spoke earlier, mentioning that across the IEEE, we really touch on just about every technology that has to do with sustainability. So we've seen a lot of growth, I would say, in the last 5 years or so. We're looking at agriculture-oriented standards, or more specifically, the application of ICT to support sustainable agriculture. We've got a lot of groups in the pharmaceutical and life sciences area, and as well down that bottom corner, you see health. These actually expanded out of the IEEE EMBS, the Medical Biology Society, but it's going a bit more broad now in some of the topics. So it's not just pure health, but you get into, say, wireless health devices or clinical trials using blockchain as a means of tracking the information and making sure it's accurate. That bottom left, we say legal, but this really is, it'd probably be better branded as societal. I think Micah mentioned in her slides, we have this artificial or ethics of artificial intelligence program, which has really been huge in the last few years. A lot of attention has been drawn to it. But starting with that, there's been a lot of different programs that are looking at standards that address the societal benefits and challenges with a lot of the new technologies. AI is certainly central to it, but we've got groups looking at AI for financial and banking, or AI for healthcare. So we're getting a lot into applications into specific industry verticals, even looking at areas like the effect on children of gaming and social media and whatnot, because these are getting into the more, again, the technologies become more pervasive, but you have to think about how they affect humanity as well. And so there's been a lot of work, a lot of new standards activities in those areas. And I already just stole my thunder a bit by addressing a number of these things on social impact. And I think what the key really here is that they all tie back in some way or another to the sustainability aspects that we've been putting a focus on. And I won't go through these in great depth because I've mentioned most of these. But just about anything you can think of how where we have that intersection between technology and social impact, I would say that's been probably the largest growth area of standards that we've seen in the last number of years. And it's interesting because it's changed somewhat of the dynamic and the membership. We are finding more people coming to the standardization process through IEEE who never really were there before. We had a lot of what I would say the hardcore engineers doing power transformers or writing protocols and code for communications. But now we're really getting into more a greater breadth of people looking at different issues around it. So it's been great also to bring these different voices, these different perspectives, expanding the membership into new directions that we really hadn't been thinking of perhaps 10 years ago. So it's made for a very vibrant community in the standards world. And I have to be honest, it's hard to keep track of all the different areas that we deal with, particularly in my role within Industry Connections. A lot of these efforts incubate through there. And I feel like I'm changing hats constantly of trying to keep track of the topics and the players, but it does certainly make for an exciting time because all these technologies do play into the larger role for IEEE and sustainability for the future. So I was going to mention a little bit about the energy practice. This is within the SA, we've actually subdivided some of the work into industry areas. We have a communications practice, a healthcare practice. The energy practice is one of the ones that I lead, and that intersects quite a bit with the work that Juan Carlos talked about with the consortium for power transformation. You can certainly find a lot of information on our website about it, but we break it into 3 buckets. So smart energy is the first one, and that's where we get into a lot of the new technology. So when it comes to renewables, when it comes to energy storage, integrating renewables into the grid, smart grid, all those type of topics are one area of focus. A second area of focus is really around energy efficiency, which also is becoming more and more related to the sustainability initiatives as well, because it's not just how you create new sources of energy and how you distribute that energy, but it's also on the consumption side of things. You want to be efficient about it to make things work that much better. And then, of course, the infrastructure, which has been really a core area historically for the IEEE. Everything you can think about in the power plant, from all the equipment on poles, the cables, all the instrumentation, everything that really makes the energy flow has always been covered quite well as safety issues. We always like to highlight that one of our most widely known standards is the National Electrical Safety Code. So just about anything you can think of in the energy infrastructure is covered somewhere within an IEEE standard, and most of the time coupled with different standards committees coming out of the IEEE Power and Energy Society. So this chart here is it's a bit of an eye chart to look through all this. I'm not going to read through every one of them. These are some of the key standards. Certainly, there are many more. Juan Carlos talked quite a bit on the IEEE 1547. I think that's currently the most prominent standard that we're seeing when it comes to distributed energy resources. And what that's about is that if you're building a wind farm or if you're building a solar farm, there's a lot of complexity into integrating that into the existing traditional grid out there. And you can't just do it. It's not a trivial task. So there's a lot that has to be done in a very methodical way, not only for the health of the grid, the stability of the grid, but also the safety aspects of it. So 1547, while it started out, I'll say heavily North American, it's becoming very pervasive globally. We've been actually working with a number of organizations around the world on the testing and commissioning aspects, really piloting the standard and implementing the standard in different parts of the world. Additionally, because with the growth of renewable energy that's coming, there's going to be a shortage eventually of people who are qualified and knowledgeable on doing that integration of renewable energy into the grid. So we are very soon rolling out a new program on credentialing. So in other words, having engineers who are credentialed as qualified to do the interconnect per IEEE 1547. It's being piloted at this point, but I think you can find information on the website. At the end, I have some links on that. The other big area that people hear about for IEEE standards is the 2030 series, which originally started out for a smart grid about 10 years ago, when that was very big and a lot of standards were coming out on the smart grid architecture and frameworks. But a lot of the newer standards that you see in 2030 series have to do with microgrids, because microgrids are certainly becoming a very large part of supporting sustainability, bringing, particularly when you have a greenfield application and somebody could set up a microgrid that could either be islanded or could be interconnected. We're seeing more and more of that coming out, and IEEE has been really doing a lot in the way of standardization to support that. In the interest of time, I'm not going to try to go into depth on any of these further. I'm always happy to try to answer questions or find the right experts on these if people have questions on specific areas. So we talk about the energy. The other side that we talk about a lot is the ICT standards and the relation to sustainability. Micah touched on this earlier. I think she had a slide on it, that Sustainable ICT is a program, and they also have quite a few standards. I put a little bit of a table on the right side that talks about some of the energy efficiency and the ICT-oriented standards that have already been published, about 10 of them to date, and work continues in those areas as well. And then down in the green box, I also mentioned the IEEE 1680 series, and this gets into environmental products and electronic waste type issues. So that's actually a standard that's been around for a while. It addresses a number of areas of electronics, but certainly something that is key to the larger portfolio of our sustainability related standards. So I want to close with, I just put this in there. These are a lot of useful links. Juan Carlos mentioned earlier that sometimes it's hard to find the consortium. That's the link up there. It's globalpst.org. We've got links for all these different programs that we've mentioned throughout the course of all four of us speaking about these topics today. So hopefully that'll be a useful resource, just kind of a handy one-pager to find a lot of this information. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for attending, and certainly the panelists for giving some really great presentations. There's so much that we could be talking about. It was very hard to try to squeeze this into about a 45 or 50-minute presentation.